You ever look back on a moment and realize that was the precise second the train started derailing? For me, it was a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. Just an invitation, an innocent little dinner invite from my wife, Mia. We should go out, she said. Talk. Reconnect. She even smiled when she said it. That same gentle smile she wore on our wedding day. The one that used to mean something before it turned into camouflage. I didn't think much of it at first. We hadn't been out together in weeks, and her suggestion felt overdue. The kind of overdue you excuse because life gets noisy. Work, bills, laundry. You forget that marriages don't run on autopilot. So, like the trusting husband I was, I nodded. Yeah, sounds good. Let me make a reservation. But Mia already had a place in mind. It's a new spot downtown, she said, barely meeting my eyes. I think you'll like it. That was the first red flag in hindsight. She hates downtown. Always complains about the parking, the noise, the pretentious menus. Yet suddenly, she's enthusiastic? But I ignored it. Because that's what we do when we don't want to see the cracks, we call them quirks. That night, I put on a blazer I hadn't worn since our anniversary last year. She wore that red dress, the one she used to save for special occasions. Only this time, I wasn't the occasion. We got to the restaurant, and my second red flag was already seated at the table. His name was Tyler. Mia introduced him as her colleague from work. He stood up, shook my hand with that overly firm grip people use when they're compensating, and flashed a smile so smug I felt my molars grind. The table had 3 settings. One for her, one for him, one for me. She had set the stage. I just hadn't read the script yet. So, Tyler, I said, unfolding my napkin like I wasn't already imagining wrapping it around his neck. How long have you and Mia worked together? Mia answered for him. About a year now. We've worked on a few projects together. He's brilliant. Tyler chuckled modestly, as if brilliance were just a side hobby. She's being too kind. Honestly, I've learned more from Mia than she has from me. That earned him a smile. That smile. Not the one she gave strangers or family. The one that used to be mine. Private, playful, like they had their own inside joke. I sipped my water like it was whiskey and gave the most polite nod I could manage without spraining my neck. For 20 minutes, I watched them perform, laughing at each other's comments, finishing each other's stories. I might as well have been their Uber driver waiting to close the tab. And still, I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was insecure. Maybe they were just close coworkers, right? Then dessert came, and the waiter brought out 2 spoons for the same creme brulee. I didn't speak, didn't flinch, just stared at the 2 spoons resting side by side like it was the most natural thing in the world to share dessert at a table with your husband and your lover. That's when Mia cleared her throat and said, Logan, I wanted to tell you something tonight. Oh, here it comes, I thought. The part where she softens the blow with phrases like, we've grown apart, or, I didn't mean for this to happen. I braced for it. But instead, she said, I'm moving out. I've been offered a position in Seattle, and I've accepted. No apology. No emotion. Just a business transaction with a side of betrayal. You're, what? I asked, my voice low, as if volume would keep the chaos from spilling. Tyler jumped in like this was a PowerPoint presentation. It's a great opportunity. She's going to lead a whole new department. That's when it clicked. The dinner wasn't to break the news. It was to justify it. To present me with a finished product, packaged, rehearsed, and tied in a pretty little bow. You already packed, didn't you? I asked. Mia didn't answer. Tyler placed his hand over hers, and I swear, I heard something inside me crack. We left the restaurant in silence. I didn't say a word, mostly because my voice box was too busy trying to choke on fury. Tyler gave a smug little nod as he held the door open for Mia, my wife, like he was the gentleman in this 3-act tragedy. I followed them out, half expecting the valet to hand Tyler the keys to my car out of sheer narrative spite. But no, Mia had driven herself. I'll get a ride back, she said casually, barely looking at me. Oh, from him, I said, pointing with my chin like I couldn't be bothered to dignify him with a name. You're that comfortable now? She paused, and I'll give her this. There was a flicker of guilt. Real or rehearsed, who knows? Logan, please. I didn't want it to be like this. Really? I said, stepping closer. You didn't want it to be like this. So you invited me to a candlelit public breakup with your boyfriend in attendance? Tyler stepped in then, because of course he did. Look, man. Don't. Just don't, I said, hand raised. You're not a man to me. You're just what she settled for while pretending she still loved me. Mia's face hardened. This wasn't about settling. This was about me realizing I deserve more. I laughed. It wasn't bitter, not yet. It was the sound of clarity. And you decided that tonight, huh? After how many months of sleeping next to me while texting him under the covers? That hit her. She didn't deny it. Tyler finally found the nerve to speak with a little bass in his voice. You should be careful what you say. You're upset. I get it. But me is not the villain here. I stepped up, close enough for him to smell the storm coming off me. Then tell me, Romeo, if she'd done this to you, how would you feel? He blinked. Said nothing. That's what I thought, I said, stepping back. Mia opened her car door. Logan, please, just don't make this harder. I gave a cold smile. Oh, sweetheart, harder's coming. And I meant that. Because while they were busy plotting their fresh start, I had just decided on something else. The finish line. Let's get one thing clear. Revenge didn't come to me like a lightning bolt. No, it arrived like a slow drip from a leaky faucet. Drip, drip, drip. Every insult, every lie, every sideways glance from the guy who thought he could replace me. All of it collecting in a quiet puddle of resolve until I finally reached down and splashed it on my face. That night, I drove home alone. The silence in the car was louder than the dinner had been. My phone buzzed once. A text from Mia. I hope someday you'll understand. Understand what? That you torched your vows like they were kindling on a cold Seattle morning? That you replaced a decade of memories with a guy who still uses product in his eyebrows? No, I didn't need understanding. I needed a plan. When I got home, everything felt off. Her shoes were gone from the hallway rack. Her coat wasn't on the hook. She'd already started extracting herself like a surgeon removing a tumor. Slow, steady, clinical. She'd left just enough to make it feel like she still lived here. A scarf. A coffee mug. The illusion of presence. I walked to the bedroom and opened her drawer. Empty. Not surprising. But what was surprising was the folder I found tucked under her side of the mattress. It was labeled HR Seattle Division. My wife, the meticulous one. She'd printed the offer letter, the salary breakdown, even a moving checklist. A checklist I wasn't on. But you know what was? Notify HR about relationship with Tyler. Update emergency contact. Change primary residence for tax filing. She had her entire exit strategy laid out like a military operation. And that's when the faucet started dripping faster. I wasn't going to stop her. No, I was going to beat her at her own game. The next morning, I called out of work. Said I was taking a personal day. My boss didn't ask questions. I'd never taken one in 10 years. He assumed someone had died. He wasn't far off. I drove across town to visit a guy named Grant. Old friend from college. Owns a security and tech firm now. He owed me a favor from back when I loaned him $5,000 to keep his startup afloat. I never asked for it back until now. What do you need? He asked, leaning back in his desk chair. Discretion, I said. And access. Her laptop. Her cloud. Maybe your company email if you can swing it. He didn't even blink. You got something on her? Not yet, I said. But I'm going to. By noon, he cloned her phone. Said it would auto-upload her texts, calls, and location to a private server. All I had to do was check in every couple of days. I paid him in cash, and before I left, I asked one last thing. Can you recommend someone who handles clean separation strategies? The kind where you don't lose the house, the car, or your dignity? He grinned. You want a divorce lawyer? No, I said. I want a chess player. He gave me a name, Julia Renshaw. Former prosecutor turned divorce attorney. Known for being ruthless but smart enough to make it look like kindness. The kind of person who shakes your hand with one while rearranging your life with the other. I scheduled a meeting. 2 days later, I sat across from Julia in a sleek downtown office that smelled like leather and controlled fury. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. From the first odd smile at dinner to the folder under the mattress. She didn't interrupt once. Just took notes with a pen that clicked like a metronome. When I finished, she nodded. You're not angry enough to be sloppy. That's good. Most men come in here wanting to burn the world down. Not interested in burning, I said. I want to build something better. But first, I want to make sure they regret trying to bulldoze me. She leaned back and smiled like I'd passed a test. We'll start with asset protection. You'll move half of your joint savings into a separate account and freeze credit activity. Do it legally. Do it today. What about the house? Get an appraisal. If she wants it, she can buy you out. But document everything. If she's already relocating, we may be able to argue abandonment. Especially if we can prove an ongoing affair. I slid a thumb drive across the desk. This has copies of her texts. And some photos. She plugged it in, clicked around, then raised an eyebrow. You've done your homework. Figured it was time I stopped being the guy who gets surprised at dinner. She nodded. We'll file next week. Quietly. She won't see it coming. As I left her office, I realized something strange. I wasn't sad anymore. Not really. I was focused. Purpose was better than pain. It burned cleaner, brighter, hot enough to forge steel. And this wasn't just about a failed marriage. This was the beginning of a different story. One where I wasn't the victim. I was the author. By the time the weekend rolled around, I had transformed from grieving husband to strategic operator. My house, once a home, now felt like a command center. Every drawer, every inbox, every digital footprint. If it had a scent of betrayal, I was on it like a bloodhound with a clipboard. It wasn't obsession. It was due diligence. Saturday morning started with an alert from Grant's system. Mia's phone had sent 24 texts between midnight and 2 a.m. to a contact saved as TJ Cute. She wasn't even trying to be subtle. But what caught my eye wasn't what they said. It was where she sent them from. My house. Specifically, our bedroom. She'd let herself in. Maybe to get more clothes. Maybe to mark territory. Either way, I hadn't given her a key. She must have made a copy before the unraveling began. I made a note to change the locks. Then, I opened the footage. See, what Mia didn't know, because betrayal makes people careless, is that I'd installed a small camera in the hallway the day after dinner. Hidden in a vent, feeding into a backup drive in the garage. I wasn't expecting a soap opera. I fast-forwarded through 2 hours of footage until I saw the front door creak open around 12:14 a.m. There she was. Hair tied up. Hoodie. No makeup. She didn't look like someone reliving a fantasy. She looked like a burglar who knew the layout. She crept down the hall and disappeared into the bedroom. 3 minutes later, Tyler walked in behind her. My hand clenched the mouse so tightly it squeaked. They weren't there for love. They were looking for something. Tyler held a phone up with the flashlight on, scanning the closet, pulling drawers, rifling through our safe box. I leaned back in my chair. They were looking for the folder. The manila one I'd already emptied and moved to a safety deposit box. Tyler opened the empty box and shook it like maybe the secrets would fall out onto the carpet. Mia stood behind him, arms crossed, muttering something I couldn't hear. He looked frustrated. She looked worried. Good. I burned the footage to another drive and slid it into the safe behind my bookshelf. Not because I'd need it in court. No, this was just for me. My own private reel of karma slowly catching up. Around noon, I got a call from Julia. We've initiated the filing, she said. The paperwork's in the clerk's office and a process server will be delivering the notice Monday morning. Good. Let her start her week right. There's more, Julia said, her tone shifting. I looked into Tyler. He's not just some workplace fling. He's her direct report. If we can prove their relationship violated company policy, and especially if it's caused a conflict of interest, she's toast. More like warm bread in a wood chipper, Julia said. But it gets better. Turns out, Mr. Tyler Beige Button-Down also has a girlfriend. They've been living together for 2 years. Her name's Lexi. I blinked. Tyler's cheating on his girlfriend, with my wife, who's cheating on me. Julia chuckled. You couldn't script this better. Oh, I planned to. After we hung up, I sat back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. Lexi, if there was a puzzle piece I hadn't accounted for, she might just be it. Because hell hath no fury like a woman who finds out she's the side dish in someone else's buffet. I found her in 10 minutes. Social media, bless its oversharing soul. Lexi had an Instagram full of brunch selfies and couples hiking trips. And one photo, a blurry snapshot taken at a company retreat, caught my attention. In the background, unmistakable in her bright red blazer, was Mia, grinning, with Tyler's arm barely brushing hers. I clicked on Lexi's DMs and hesitated. What was I going to say? Hey, I'm the husband of the woman your boyfriend's been getting cozy with. Want to form a club? But as it turns out, I didn't need to. Because Lexi beat me to it. A message popped up on my private Facebook account, one I hadn't touched in years. Lexi Rogers. Hi, I think we need to talk. About Mia and Tyler. I have some information you might want. I stared at it, heart rate kicking up. I clicked reply. Me. I'm listening. She messaged her number. 10 minutes later, we were on a call. Her voice was calm, but firm. The kind of calm you hear from someone who's already passed through the eye of the storm and is now calmly taking inventory of the wreckage. I found her name on his Apple Watch. Texts. Late night ones. And then, last night, he came home pissed off. Said something about a file being missing and how he needed to cover their tracks. He said that. Exact words. Said if they couldn't find that file, she could lose her job and I quote, "The house of cards comes down." Well, I said, he's not wrong. There was a pause. I want to help, Lexi said finally. Not just for you. For me. For every time he's lied to my face and acted like I was the crazy one. I nodded. I'm already in motion. But if you're willing, I think we can accelerate the downfall. Good, she said. Let's burn it all down. As I hung up, I looked around my office, the walls still lined with framed pictures of Mia and me. Wedding day. Christmas. Random beach vacations. I stood up, took the first frame off the wall, one of us in Aruba, and turned it over. Behind the photo, I slid in a small post-it note. It read, "You had your fun. Now it's my turn." Then I put the frame back, slightly tilted. Just enough for her to notice when she returned. Monday morning came dressed in overcast skies and irony. While the city stretched and yawned into another week, I stood in the front hallway of my house. Well, my house for now, sipping black coffee and waiting for the show to start. And just like clockwork, at 9:17 a.m., a knock echoed through the entryway. I opened the door to a man in a blazer and jeans, holding a manila envelope. "Logan Brooks?" he asked. "That's me. You've been served." "Not today, champ," I said, stepping aside. "Wrong recipient. That one's for Mia." He blinked. "Oh, she lives here." "She used to." He nodded, flipped through his folder, then handed me a second envelope. "This one's for her. I'll need a signature confirming delivery to the residence." I signed, then smiled. "Thanks. This is the part where you quietly exit and let gravity do the rest." He chuckled. "Good luck, man." I didn't need luck. I had timing. Mia came by exactly 38 minutes later. I saw it through the hallway camera. She still used her key, walking in like she still had rights. Her heels clacked across the floor as she made a beeline toward the upstairs closet. She didn't even notice the envelope on the kitchen counter until she was halfway back down the stairs with a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. Then she froze. She saw the envelope. And the note next to it. "Don't say I didn't give you fair warning." I watched from the den as she opened it, eyes scanning page after page, her expression slowly mutating from confusion to disbelief to the kind of pale, shaking horror that only shows up when someone realizes the rules of the game have changed. And they're not holding any of the pieces. She spun around and caught sight of me leaning against the doorway, coffee in hand. "What is this?" she asked, holding the packet like it was radioactive. "Justice," I said, with professional formatting. "You filed for divorce?" "I did." "You blindsided me." "Oh no," I said, stepping forward. "Let's not rewrite history. You didn't get blindsided. You got caught. And now you're getting replaced." Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't about Tyler. This is about control." "No, Mia. This is about clarity. You lied. You snuck around. You disrespected our vows, our home, hell, our dinner table. And now you're upset because I didn't sit in the corner and cry about it. I didn't think you'd actually go through with this." "I know," I said. "That's the problem." She paced a little, trying to recalibrate. She was used to me being the steady one, the calm one, the man who always gave her the benefit of the doubt. That guy was gone. I'd evicted him the night Tyler smirked at me across a creme brulee. "Look," she said, setting the papers down and softening her voice. "We can figure this out. I don't want it to end this way. You ended it the moment you let another man into our life. You just assumed I wouldn't have the spine to hold you accountable. And that's on you." Silence fell between us like a curtain. Then she asked, "Is there someone else?" That one made me laugh. A dry, genuine, "You have to be kidding me" laugh. "No, Mia. There's no one else. I've just rediscovered the joy of looking in the mirror without seeing a doormat." She looked like she wanted to cry, or scream, or throw something. Maybe all three. But instead, she just stood there. "Can I at least get the rest of my things?" I nodded. "You have 30 minutes. She blinked. "What? You don't live here anymore. You don't have access. You've got 30 minutes to pack what you came for, and then you'll need to go through my attorney for everything else." She stared at me like I'd grown fangs. "Who are you right now?" "I'm the guy you underestimated," I said. "And now I'm the guy you answer to in court." She stormed upstairs without another word. I let her go. I didn't follow. I didn't yell. I just stood there, sipping the last of my coffee like it was victory in a ceramic mug. 28 minutes later, she came down with 2 bags and a coat. No words. No glances. Just a slam of the door that echoed like a final bell. I let out a breath. Then I pulled out my phone. Me, to Lexi. It's done. She's officially been served. She replied instantly. Lexi. Good. Because you're going to want to see what I found in Tyler's laptop. 10 minutes later, I was staring at a shared screen full of screenshots, emails between Tyler and Mia that weren't just unprofessional. They were unethical. He'd rewritten code, rerouted vendor contracts, all while she signed off under company policy she was supposed to enforce. Tell me you backed all this up, I said. I did, Lexi replied. And I have a meeting with HR tomorrow. I smiled. Let me know if you need character witnesses. Lexi laughed. Oh, I'll manage. But thank you for not being a coward. No, thank you, I said, for reminding me that rock bottom is a great place to build a foundation. As I ended the call, I felt lighter than I had in months. The war wasn't over. Not yet. But the momentum? It was mine now. Tyler's world started to crumble on a Tuesday. He walked into the office dressed like usual, perfectly ironed dress shirt, watch that cost more than a month of rent, and a smugness so thick it should have come with its own cologne. Confidence oozing from every pore. But by lunch, he was sweating through that tailored collar. Lexi made sure of it. She met with HR at 10 a.m. sharp, armed with a USB drive, a spiral-bound logbook full of notes, and the kind of resolve you only earn after someone breaks your heart and insults your intelligence in the same breath. She laid it all out. The inappropriate relationship with Mia, the secret emails, the policy violations, and the cherry on top, company funds rerouted through miscellaneous vendor channels that somehow traced back to a consulting firm owned by Tyler's cousin. By 11:30, the head of HR and 2 other suits escorted him into a glass conference room. By 11:35, Mia showed up at the office unexpectedly. And by 11:40, I got a message from Lexi. Showtime. HR's meeting with both of them right now. You should see the look on his face. I imagined it. The way that smug expression would twitch. The way Mia's eyes would dart from person to person, trying to figure out which part of her carefully curated persona cracked first. I didn't feel joy. I felt something better. Closure. They had built a tower of secrets, thinking it would hold. But secrets don't make good mortar. They crumble under the weight of reality. And now the wrecking ball was swinging, and I had the best seat in the house. At 2:07 p.m., I got another text from Lexi. He's been placed on administrative leave. His laptop was confiscated. Mia's still in the building. Word is she's next. I replied with a single emoji, directed. That evening, I sat on the back porch watching the sun dip behind the trees. It felt poetic, peaceful, like the universe had decided I deserved a decent sunset after a month of emotional napalm. That's when the doorbell rang. I didn't rush. I stood slowly, walked through the house, and opened the front door. Mia stood there. No makeup. Hair pulled back. Her blazer looked wrinkled, unusual for her. She had the look of someone who just found out their parachute was packed by a cartoon villain. I got fired, she said, voice flat. I heard, I replied. They escorted me out. In front of everyone. HR said they'd be launching an investigation. Said the emails I signed off on violated compliance rules. I let the silence breathe. You're not going to say anything? She asked. I shrugged. What do you want me to say? I'm sorry you got caught? That must be hard. She looked like she wanted to cry, but she was too exhausted to bother. She began, then faltered. I don't know what I thought would happen. That's the problem, Mia. You didn't think. I leaned against the doorframe. Calm. Steady. You were so used to getting your way, at home, at work, with him. You thought the truth could stay buried just because you dressed it up in business casual and plausible deniability. She winced. You ruined everything, she whispered. No, I corrected her. You did. I just stopped pretending you didn't. She took a step forward. Logan, I don't have anywhere to go tonight. Tyler's place, he's not answering. I think he blocked me. That sounds like a you problem. I didn't say it to be cruel. I said it because it was true. She stood there a moment longer, hoping for some trace of the old me to appear, the guy who'd forgive, who'd offer the couch, who'd cave. But that guy was gone. And what stood in his place? A man who finally saw himself clearly. You should leave, I said. Before I forget that I'm trying to be better than you. She turned slowly and walked back to her car. No drama. No parting words. Just quiet defeat. When she pulled out of the driveway, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt peace. And that was enough. The next day, I met Lexi for coffee. Neutral ground. Bright cafe. Fresh air. You look like someone who just deleted a toxic number from their phone, she said. Better, I replied. I deleted an entire chapter. We sat there for a while, sipping, chatting, decompressing like survivors of the same crash. There was no romance. Just mutual understanding. I think I'm done chasing revenge, I said. She nodded. Yeah, revenge is loud. But peace? That's the real power move. We toasted our coffee cups like two generals after the war. As I drove home later, I passed the park Mia and I used to visit on weekends. I didn't stop. Didn't even glance at the bench we used to sit on. Because I wasn't looking back anymore. I was too busy writing the next part. You'd think after the HR fallout, the firing, and the public implosion of her not-so-secret relationship, Mia would vanish. But no. Some people treat shame like an optional outfit, easy to discard when inconvenient. I started getting emails from her. Nothing dramatic. Just breadcrumbs. Can we talk? And I never meant for it to go this far. Each one landed in my inbox with the grace of a wet sock. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I wasn't. I was done. Tyler, according to Lexi, had quietly resigned. Word around their office was he took a severance and disappeared like a magician who botched his last trick. Apparently, he tried to reach out to Lexi too. She blocked him and posted a photo of her dog titled, "The Only Loyal Man in My Life." Iconic. Meanwhile, I'd picked up a new rhythm. Gym at 6 a.m., work by 8, books at night, peace on the weekends. My house didn't feel haunted anymore. No perfume lingered in the hallways. No ghost of past affection lurking in corners. And yet, on a quiet Thursday evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, then checked the message. Logan, it's Mia. I know I have no right to ask you anything, but something's happened. I need to see you. Please. It's important. Part of me wanted to delete it. The other part, the one still curious about loose ends, decided one last conversation wouldn't kill me. We met at a public park. Middle bench. No drama. No potential for anyone to throw wine or accusations. I showed up first, leaned back, arms folded. She arrived wearing sunglasses too big for her face and humility too late for her story. She sat beside me like the air wasn't heavy. I wanted to apologize, she said. That would have been more useful before you invited your boyfriend to creme brulee. She nodded, unsurprised. I deserve that. We sat in silence for a moment. He left, she said finally. Tyler. Not just the job. Everything. He ghosted me. I found out he was seeing someone else on the side. The irony's poetic. I don't care, I said flatly. I figured. But it made me realize something. Let me guess. You gave up gold for 10. She smiled, sad. No. I knew you were gold. I just never believed I deserved to keep it. There it was. The truth, sitting beside me like a dog-eared chapter from a closed book. I didn't say anything. She didn't expect me to. I've started therapy, she said. Trying to figure out why I ruined things that are good. Why I torched a marriage for the attention of someone so small. Good, I said. I hope you get better. But that doesn't mean we rewind anything. I know, she said. I don't want you back. I just wanted to say I was sorry. And that you were the best part of my life, even if I only realized it too late. I stood. That was all I needed. Goodbye, Mia. She didn't chase me. Didn't cry. Just sat there, holding her apology like a letter that would never be sent. And that was the last time I saw her. Months passed. Quiet, steady, honest months. I sold the house not out of pain, but because I wanted a clean start. I moved into a smaller place near the lake. Still had a porch. Still had peace. One morning, I got a call from Lexi. You ever get closure? She asked. Yeah. She handed it to me on a park bench. She laughed. I went on a date last night. First one since everything. Good for you. You should try it. You're less cranky these days. She wasn't wrong. Turns out when your life isn't built on lies, you sleep a little better. Smile a little easier. Mornings feel less like hangovers and more like invitations. That weekend, I went to a bookstore. Ran into someone. We talked. She smiled. I smiled back. It wasn't fireworks, it was a flicker. A beginning. I'm not naive. Life isn't a movie. But healing? That's real. And I'm no longer just the man who got cheated on. I'm the man who came back from it stronger, sharper, and a hell of a lot wiser. You want the real revenge? It's living better than they ever imagined. And smiling while you do it.